Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're diving deep, really deep, into something ancient but incredibly relevant.
We are indeed.
We're talking about Ayurveda, an alternative medicine system originates from the Indian subcontinent, practiced for over 2,000 years.
Yeah, it's kind of staggering when you think about that time scale.
And it's not just history. Get this. Something like 80% of people in India and Nepal still report using it. It's woven into everyday life there.
It really is, which tells you something about its enduring power, or at least its cultural significance.
Exactly. So our mission today, give you the essential rundown on Ayurveda. Think of this as your curated guide.
Your cheat sheet, maybe.
Yeah, your cheat sheet. We'll unpack its origins, the core ideas, how it's actually used, some surprising bits.
And importantly, the controversies, too. We need that balanced view.
Absolutely. We've sifted through a lot of material, including detailed info from Wikipedia's Ayurveda entry to give you the full picture, no fluff.
Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. So where better to start than the name itself, Ayurveda? What does it actually mean?
Right. So Ayurveda, it's Sanskrit, breaks down into Ayus, meaning life or longevity.
Okay, life, longevity.
And Veda, which means knowledge. So put it together and you basically get knowledge of longevity, or maybe more broadly, knowledge of life and longevity.
Knowledge of life. I like that. It's not just about fixing problems, but understanding life itself.
Precisely. And this system, well, it's been evolving for, like you said, over 2 millennia. It's not static.
And it has this almost mythical origin story, doesn't it? Not just some doctor figuring things out.
It does. Legend often traces it back to the Hindu god Dhamvantari, who's an avatar of Vishnu.
Wow, okay. I so divine origin.
Yeah, and the main classical texts, like the famous Sushruta Samhita, they frame it as knowledge passed down from the gods to sages and then to human doctors.
Gives it a certain weight, I suppose.
Definitely. And we even see mentions quite early on. The Mahabharata, the epic poem, maybe around 4th century BCE, it mentions the medicine that has 8 components.
8 components? That sounds surprisingly organized for something so ancient.
It really is quite structured.
Yeah.
That's one of the fascinating things. It wasn't just one general practice. They had these 8 main branches, the Abba.
Okay, let's hear them. What were they covering?
Well, first you've got Kaya Chikitsa, that's your general medicine, focusing on the whole body, the foundation, really.
Makes sense.
Then Kamarabucha Pediatrics, and this was comprehensive, prenatal, postnatal care for mother and baby, childhood illnesses, midwifery.
Wow.
It even supposedly covered things like methods of conception and thinking about a child's constitution or intelligence right from the start.
That's quite detailed. What else? You said 8.
Right. Then there's Tantra. This is the big one that often surprises people. Surgery.
Surgery, like actual invasive procedures.
Yes. Surgical techniques. Extracting foreign objects. The texts describe things we'd recognize. Rhinoplasty, nose jobs. Lithotomy, which is removing stones, using sutures, even cataract surgery.
Hold on, cataract surgery. Back then, how?
Well, the texts describe it. The specifics of how successfully, that's debated, but the knowledge, the description, it's there. Pretty advanced stuff.
Absolutely incredible. Okay, what are the others?
Let's see. Shalakya Tantra. That dealt with ailments sort of above the neck. Ears, eyes, nose, mouth. Like an early ENT specialist.
Okay.
Then Bhuta Vidya. This one's a bit different. It dealt with pacifying, possessing spirits, and mental health issues thought to be caused by them.
Ah, so a connection to mental well-being, but through a very different lens than we use today.
Exactly. A supernatural or spiritual lens, you could say. Then there's Agata Tantra, basically toxicology, dealing with poisons, animal, vegetable, mineral epidemics, and antidotes.
So an early form of public health and poison control.
Kind of, yeah. Then Rasayan Tantra. This is all about rejuvenation. Tonics and practices aimed at increasing lifespan, boosting intellect, strength. Anti-aging, basically.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Always.
Yeah.
And finally, Vajjikaranta Tantra. This focused on aphrodisiacs, fertility treatments, improving sexual health and pleasure. Some texts even link it to spiritual growth, transmuting sexual energy.
So across these 8 branches, it's clear Ayurveda wasn't just looking at isolated symptoms. It seems really holistic.
That's the word, definitely. It views physical existence, mental existence, and even personality not as separate silos, but as interconnected parts of one whole person. That's key for diagnosis and treatment.
And this idea of balance comes up a lot, right?
Absolutely central. Balance is everything. They even say suppressing natural urges like holding in a sneeze is unhealthy, could lead to illness, maybe shoulder pain, they suggest.
Sneeze?
Yeah, but it's also about moderation in urges. Don't overeat, get enough sleep, but not too much, balance sexual activity. It's about finding that sweet spot, that natural equilibrium.
So if it's holistic, how does Ayurveda conceptualize the body itself? What are the fundamental parts?
Good question. It sees the body as made of tissues, called dhatus. There are 7 of them. Chyle, blood, muscle, fat, bone, marrow, and semen.
Okay, the physical stuff.
Right. Then you have waste products, the malas, and then crucially the doshas. These are seen as 3 fundamental biomaterials or energetic principles.
The doshas, we hear that term a lot.
We do. And everything, including these bodily substances, is also linked back to the 5 classical elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether.
The Panchamahabhuta.
Exactly. And there are also 20 gunas, or qualities like heavy light, cold hot, inherent in all matter. It's a very layered view.
So let's dive into those doshas. What exactly are they? They seem super important.
They absolutely are. The tridosha theory is core. They are the 3 postulated elemental bodily humors: vata, pitta, and kapha.
Vata, pitta, kapha.
Right. Vata is often linked with air and ether. Think movement, the nervous system. Pitta is fire and water digestion, metabolism, enzymes, transformation. And kapha is earth and water structure, lubrication, mucus, stability.
Okay, so like 3 fundamental forces or energies in the body.
That's a good way to think about it. Health is seen as when these 3 are in balance samyatva. Disease arises from imbalance vyamatva.
And I've heard that everyone has a unique mix of these.
Correct. Ayurveda teaches that each person has a unique inherent combination of doshas that defines their constitution, their prakriti. This also influences their personality.
So a practitioner tries to figure out your prakriti.
Yes, because your prakriti might make you more prone to certain types of imbalances or diseases. For example, someone who is predominantly vata might be more susceptible to things like, say, gas, constipation, or even rheumatism.
Interesting. So it's about understanding your tendencies.
Exactly. And managing them to maintain balance. It connects to mental health, too. They thought deranged vata, for instance, could be linked to mental disorders, although some texts had other ideas, too, attributing insanity to things like cold food and possession by the ghost of a sinful Brahmin.
Right. Okay. Maybe not all explanations hold up to modern scrutiny.
Perhaps not.
What about this other term, ama? I hear that's quite unique, too.
Ama, yes. It literally means uncooked or undigested in Sanskrit.
Undigested, like food.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It refers to anything in a state of incomplete transformation. Specifically, it's seen as this toxic byproduct of improper digestion, like your digestive fire isn't working properly and stuff just kind of stagnates, creates this sticky, toxic residue.
Like internal sludge.
That's a great way to put it, internal sludge.
Yeah.
And this concept, this ama, really doesn't have a direct equivalent in standard Western medicine. It puts metabolism and digestion right at the center of health and disease.
Fascinating concept. And where does Ayurveda sit historically within Indian knowledge systems?
Well, in the medieval classification of Sanskrit knowledge, it's seen as an Upaveda, a subsidiary Veda. Some traditions even call it the 5th Veda. And you can definitely trace links, especially medicinal plant names, back to the much older Atharva Veda. So it has deep roots.
Okay, so we have the history, the core ideas. How does this translate into practice? How do Ayurvedic practitioners actually figure out what's wrong? Diagnosis.
They use what's called the 8 ways of diagnosis, or Ashtavida Pariksha. This includes checking the pulse, nadi examining urine, mutra, stool, mala, the tongue, jiva, listening to the speech, shabda, using touch, sparsha, observing the eye's vision, drok, and looking at the overall appearance, akruti.
Sounds very hands-on, very observational.
It is. They use all 5 senses,
Yeah.
listening to breathing, speech quality, looking at the skin, the eyes, feeling the pulse. And they also have this unique concept of marma points.
Marma.
Yeah, specific vital points on the body. Studying these is considered important for diagnosis, too. Kind of like pressure points, but with deeper significance in Ayurveda.
That's incredibly thorough. What about treatments, then? And prevention?
Well, while surgery exists in the classical texts, modern Ayurveda tends to focus more on building a strong metabolic system, good digestion, and effective excretion. That's seen as key to both treating illness and preventing it.
How do they achieve that?
Through various means. Diet is huge, tailored to your dosha. Lifestyle is critical. Things like exercise, yoga, meditation are often recommended. There's also this concept called dinacharya.
Dinacharya.
It's about aligning with natural daily cycles, having a routine for waking, sleeping, working, eating, living in rhythm with nature, basically. And hygiene is very important too. Bathing, teeth cleaning, using a tongue scraper, oil pulling, even eye washing.
Oil pulling, tongue scraping. I've heard of those gaining popularity
They
recently.
have. Many of these basic hygiene and routine practices are central to Ayurvedic prevention.
And the actual remedies, what goes into them, I assume mostly herbs.
Overwhelmingly, yes. About 90% of the substances used are plant-based. Roots, leaves, fruits, bark, seeds. Common things you might know are cardamom, cinnamon, ashwagandha, tulsi or holy basil, and truffula. That's a mix of 3 fruits.
Okay, standard herbal medicine territory. But there's more, isn't there? I've heard about minerals and metals.
Yes, that's a distinct feature. Animal products are used sometimes milk, bones, gallstones, but also minerals, including sulfur, arsenic, lead, copper sulfate, and even gold. This practice is called Rasa Shastra.
Wait, arsenic, lead. That sounds concerning.
It is definitely an area we need to talk more about, especially the controversy. But yes, these metals are intentionally added in some preparations.
Okay, we'll circle back to that. What else is used?
Even alcoholic beverages, called madhya, have a place.
Huh.
They're classified based on ingredients and fermentation and used strategically to adjust doshas like they might increase pitta but reduce vata and kapha, used for things like improving digestion or as purgatives.
Alcohol is medicine. Interesting.
And historically, even purified opium appears in some formulations, said to balance vata and kapha, increase pitta. Prescribed for things like diarrhea, dysentery, sometimes for enhancing sexual or muscular ability, or for sedation.
Opium too, wow.
And cannabis indica is also mentioned in older texts, sometimes for diarrhea or as an aphrodisiac.
So quite a wide range of substances. What about physical treatments? Beyond just taking remedies.
Definitely. For stopping bleeding, they use things like oils and tar, but also ligation, cauterization, specific clotting agents. Massage is huge in Ayurveda, using specific oils. It can be external or even internal to some extent. And you have treatments like Shirodhara.
Shirodhara, that's the one with oil on the forehead, right?
That's the one. Continuously pouring liquids, usually warm oil, onto the forehead. It's meant to be very calming, balancing for the nervous system.
And finally, there's Panchakarma. What's that about?
Panchakarma literally means 5 actions or 5 treatments. It's a set of procedures designed to deeply cleanse the body, eliminate a very specific sequenced detox, yes. Things like therapeutic vomiting, purgation, enemas, nasal administration of medicines. It's meant to be quite intensive, aimed at really resetting the system and restoring that dosha balance.
That's quite a toolkit. Now, let's think about how all this knowledge spread. We know it's ancient in India, but did it influence medicine elsewhere?
Oh, absolutely. We touched on the range of illnesses they identified early on, fevers, coughs, but also complex things like angina, diabetes, hypertension. That shows sophisticated observation.
And the surgery you mentioned.
Yes, the surgical techniques described are really remarkable for the era. Plastic surgery, especially rhinoplasty, extracting bladder stones, tonsillectomy. There are even descriptions that some interpret as C-sections, though that's debated. They use specific herbs and instruments.
So this knowledge didn't just stay put.
Not at all. Key texts by figures like Sushruta and Charaka were translated into Chinese as early as the 5th century, then into Arabic and Persian around the 8th century.
Arabic and Persian, so it entered the Islamic golden age of science.
Exactly. And through those Arabic translations, the knowledge eventually made its way to Europe by around the 12th century.
No way. So Ayurvedic ideas influenced European medicine.
There's evidence suggesting influence, yeah. Some Renaissance Italian surgeons, like the Branca family and Gaspar Tagliacozzi, seem to have been inspired by Sushruta's techniques, particularly for reconstructive surgery, like nose reconstruction.
That's a connection I hadn't realized. What about more recently?
Well, even in the late 18th century, British physicians in India observed local rhinoplasty techniques. There was an article about it in the Gentleman's Magazine in 1794.
So they were impressed.
Initially, yes. European surgical instruments were even modified based on Indian designs.
Yeah.
A British surgeon, Joseph Constantine Carpew, performed the first major rhinoplasty in the West in 1815, and he explicitly credited the Indian method.
But then things changed.
Yeah, during the height of British colonial rule, the official policy shifted heavily towards promoting European medicine and often actively suppressed or disparaged traditional Indian practices like Ayurveda.
A familiar story in colonial contexts.
Sadly, yes. But after India's independence, there was a renewed focus on reviving and integrating Ayurveda into the national healthcare system. though that integration with modern medicine is still complex and ongoing.
So bringing us to today, it's clearly still a major force, especially in India and Nepal.
Huge. Millions use it. The Indian government actively supports it. There's the Ministry of AWH, Ayurveda, Yoga and Naturopathy, Unani, Stita, and Homeopathy, the Central Council of Indian Medicine, CCIM. They even created the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, partly to prevent foreign patents on traditional remedies biopiracy.
And it's big business too, right?
Definitely. The global market was valued at something like 4.5 billion US dollars back in 2017, probably more now. It has a significant economic presence.
And how has it shown up in the West more recently, since maybe the 70s?
It's seen a resurgence and adaptation. You sometimes hear distinctions made between modern Ayurveda, which might be more secularized even within India, and global Ayurveda. The global version often gets intertwined with yoga, general wellness culture, spirituality, maybe focusing more on prevention than treating serious illness.
Which leads us neatly into the tricky part. The debate about what Ayurveda actually is. Is it medicine? Is it something else?
That's the crux of a major ongoing debate. Many scientists, medical professionals, and skeptical organizations classify Ayurveda as a pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience, why?
The main arguments are that its core principles, doshas, ama, the 5 elements, aren't based on scientific evidence or biology as we understand it today. And critics often point to a lack of high-quality research, like rigorous large-scale clinical trials, to support its effectiveness for specific diseases.
So does it work? What does the evidence say?
It's mixed and often limited. Some lab studies on specific Ayurvedic herbs do suggest potential therapeutic effects, anti-inflammatory or antioxidant properties. But translating that to effective treatments for complex diseases in humans is a big leap.
What about serious conditions, like cancer?
There's no reliable scientific evidence that Ayurvedic treatments can cure or treat cancer. Organizations like Cancer Research UK state this clearly. They acknowledge some people might use it for symptom relief alongside conventional care, but they also warn strongly about potential harms.
Such as
Toxic ingredients, which we need to get into, and the risk of treatments interacting negatively with conventional cancer therapies like chemotherapy or radiation. The evidence for cardiovascular disease is similarly considered weak or unconvincing by mainstream medical bodies.
Okay, let's tackle that head-on, the toxic metals issue. You mentioned Rasa Shastra.
Yes. The practice of intentionally adding metals, minerals, sometimes gems, to herbal formulas. And the problem is, these often include heavy metals known to be toxic: lead, mercury, arsenic.
And this isn't just theoretical. They've found these metals in products.
Oh, yes. Repeatedly. Studies going back decades show worrying levels. A 1990 study in India found arsenic in 41% of products tested, and lead and mercury in 64%.
64%? That's a lot.
It is. A 2004 U.S. study found toxic levels in 20% of Ayurvedic products bought in Boston, sourced from South Asia. Then a key 2008 study looked at products sold online, both U.S. and Indian made. They found lead, mercury, or arsenic in about 21% overall.
Still around 1 in 5.
But here's the kicker. For the products specifically identified as Rasa Shastra preparations, the ones meant to contain metals, that number jumped to 40%. 40% contained potentially dangerous levels of these heavy metals. And studies as recent as 2022-2023 are still finding products exceeding safety limits for zinc, mercury, arsenic, and lead.
This must have real-world consequences for people using these remedies.
Absolutely. It's not just numbers in a lab report. There have been numerous documented cases of heavy metal poisoning linked to Ayurvedic medicine use. One review counted over 80 cases of lead poisoning worldwide between 1978 and 2008.
80 cases.
And that's likely underreported. In 2012, the U.S. CDC specifically linked some Ayurvedic drugs to lead poisoning incidents in pregnant women. A 2015 U.S. study found that 40% of people they tested who used Ayurvedic medicine had elevated blood lead levels. So, yes, it's a genuine public health concern.
How do Ayurvedic practitioners explain this? Surely they know lead and mercury are poisonous.
Their defense generally falls into a few categories. One is that the toxicity arises from improper manufacturing contaminants, or maybe people using shoddy products from unqualified charlatans.
Okay, blaming quality control.
Right. The other main argument points back to the classical texts. They argue that traditional Ayurveda includes complex purification processes called samskaras or shodhanas that are meant to detoxify these heavy metals and render them safe or even therapeutic when prepared correctly.
Purification processes for lead and mercury. Does science back that up?
Mainstream toxicology is, let's say, highly skeptical that these traditional methods can truly eliminate the inherent toxicity of heavy metals like lead or mercury, especially for chronic ingestion. The metals themselves don't just disappear or become harmless in the way these processes might imply.
So what are governments or regulators doing about this if products contain lead?
It's tricky. In India, there's now a requirement for Ayurvedic products to label their metallic content. But enforcing that and ensuring adequate testing across a huge and varied industry remains a challenge. In the US, the FDA has had an import alert in place since 2007 for certain Ayurvedic products, basically trying to stop one suspected of contamination from entering the country. But things still slip through, especially with online sales.
Wow, so we've covered a massive amount of ground here.
We really have.
You've just taken a deep dive into Ayurveda. We've journeyed from its really ancient roots and divine origins through its intricate system of health with the doshas, datos, ama,
Explored its surprisingly advanced historical practices like surgery. It's spread across the globe.
and landed right in the middle of contemporary debates about its status, its efficacy, and the very serious safety concerns, especially around heavy metals. You now have a handle on concepts from Panchakarma to Rasa Shastra.
It's definitely a system with incredible historical depth and cultural resonance, but also one facing significant questions when viewed through the lens of modern science and safety standards. It's complex.
It absolutely is. So the big takeaway for you, the listener, after hearing all this, maybe the question to ponder is this. In today's world, with access to so much information and so many different approaches to health, how do you navigate it all? How do we best balance the potential wisdom in ancient traditional systems like Ayurveda with the evidence-based rigor of modern science, particularly when making choices about our own health and well-being?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Something to really think about. Okay, imagine this. You die, but instead of just, ending, you go on this incredible journey. You see the afterlife, the cosmos, and then you come back.
Yeah, and you come back to tell everyone about it. Not like a ghost story, but like a serious philosophical report.
Exactly, and that's pretty much what we're diving into today, this ancient Greek legend. It's called the myth of
Right. And it's not just some random tale. It's actually the conclusion to Plato's Republic. Huge deal in philosophy.
Absolutely. It really shaped how people thought about,
Yeah.
well, everything. The soul, justice, the universe itself. For centuries.
And for our deep dive today, we're mainly looking at the Wikipedia entry on it. It does a pretty good job of boiling down Plato's original story and, its impact.
So the goal here is to unpack not just let's say, the story part of his crazy trip, but also the big ideas Plato tucked inside it.
Yeah, the moral stuff, the cosmic model. Hopefully you'll get a real sense of ancient thinking and maybe even a fresh look at the choices we make today.
All right, then. Let's get into it. So first up, who is this guy,
Okay, so is the son of Arminius. He's from Pamphylia, which is in modern-day Turkey. And he dies in battle.
Pretty straightforward so far. A soldier dying in battle.
Right. But here's the twist. His body, it doesn't decompose. For 10 days. It just lies there on the battlefield, perfectly preserved.
Oh, okay. That's unusual.
Totally. And then 2 days later, they put him on the funeral pyre, and just as they're about to light it, he wakes up.
Comes back to life. Just like that.
Just like that. And the whole reason he can tell this story is because he did come back. That's the setup.
So where does he find himself after he dies, before waking up on the pyre?
He describes this this awe-inspiring place. And there are other souls there, too. It's like a crossroads. There are 4 openings.
Cool.
Yeah, 2 going into and out of the sky and 2 going into and out of the ground. And there are judges sitting there.
Judges, like judging the souls.
Exactly. They direct the souls. If you were good, you go up into the sky. If you were immoral, you go down into the earth.
But what about Does he get judged?
No, and this is key. He's specifically told he's different. He's there to listen and watch, to observe everything. Wow. So he can be a messenger, to go back and tell humanity what the afterlife is actually like. He's basically their witness.
Wow. So he gets a front row seat to cosmic justice. What does he see?
He sees souls returning from both places, the ones from the sky. They're clean, bright, and they talk about seeing beautiful things, experiencing incredible rewards, like tenfold rewards for their good deeds.
Tenfold. Nice.
Yeah.
That one's from underground.
Oh, that's different. They are filthy, haggard, crying. They talk about immense suffering and paying a tenfold penalty for all the bad things they did.
A tenfold penalty? Ouch. That's intense. Justice is harsh there.
It seems so, and apparently some souls don't even get to come back up.
Really? Like who?
He mentions incurable sinners, like really terrible murderers or tyrants who committed awful atrocities.
Mm.
They reach the opening to come out, but it refuses them. It like roars at them and they get dragged back down, trapped forever.
Jeez. So there's reward, punishment, and then eternal damnation for the worst cases.
Seems that way. So spends 7 days in this meadow area watching souls arrive and depart, sharing their stories.
Just taking it all in.
Right. Then, after those 7 days, he travels on with the group of souls who finish their time there. They journey for 4 days.
Where are they going?
They reach this incredible sight, a pillar of light like a rainbow stretching down from the heavens, super bright.
Okay.
And after another day's travel towards it, they arrive at the source. They reach what Plato calls the spindle of necessity.
The spindle of necessity. That sounds
Yeah.
important. And maybe a bit complicated.
It is. It's central to the whole thing. This is where the souls choose their next lives.
Choose their next life. So reincarnation is part of this.
Absolutely. Metempsychosis. So picture this scene. There's Lady Necessity herself and her daughters, the three fates, Lachesis, Clotho, and Atropos, and sirens providing cosmic music.
Wow. Quite the setup.
And then a figure, a prophet, lays out lots or tokens before the souls, except for of course. He's still just watching.
So they draw lots, like a lottery.
Yeah, it determines the order in which they get to choose their next life. Then the prophet lays out samples of all possible lives, human lives, animal lives, lives of fame, poverty, health, sickness, everything.
Every possible kind of life is on offer.
Pretty much. And then the choosing begins, and this is where makes some really interesting observations.
Like what? What does he notice?
Well, the very first soul to choose, the one who drew the first lot, he'd just come back from the sky, rewarded for 1,000 years.
Okay, so presumably he'd been virtuous.
Apparently, but maybe not truly wise, because he rushes forward and grabs the life of a powerful dictator. Looks great on the surface, right? Power, wealth.
Yeah, sounds appealing to some, I guess.
But then he looks closer at the details of that life and he realizes, uh-oh, he's destined to commit horrible acts, including eating his own children.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
seriously?
Seriously. Plato uses this to make a point. This soul hadn't suffered, hadn't really been tested. He just lived a conventionally good life, maybe out of habit. So when faced with a real choice, he chose poorly, seduced by power without understanding the consequences.
That's fascinating. So virtue learned only through reward isn't necessarily deep or wise.
Exactly. Notes that actually many souls who came from under the earth, who had suffered for their past wrongs, they often chose much more carefully, more wisely.
Because they learned the hard way.
Seems so. Suffering had given them perspective, maybe, while many who came from the heavens, perhaps complacent, made rash or foolish choices.
It really turns expectations upside down. What about other choices? You mentioned animal lives.
Yeah, that's another interesting bit. Souls weren't bound to stay human. Some chose to become animals. Maybe they thought it would be simpler, easier, like Agamemnon chose to be an eagle, apparently.
Aha.
And conversely, some animals chose to become human. Atalanta, the famous huntress, saw the life of a celebrated male athlete and chose that. There was a lot of mixing and matching based on past experiences and desires. Odysseus, interestingly, searched for a quiet, private life and was happy to find one overlooked by everyone else.
He'd had enough adventure.
I could say that. So, after everyone makes their choice, what happens next?
Good question. They picked a life. Now what?
Each soul is then assigned a daemon, a guardian spirit, to help them through their chosen life, make sure it unfolds as fated.
Like a guardian angel.
Sort of, yeah. Then they all have to pass under the throne of necessity. And from there, they travel to the plane of oblivion.
Oblivion. Sounds ominous.
Well, it's where they encounter the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness.
Ah, Lethe. I've heard of that. Drinking its water makes you forget.
Precisely. All the souls, guided by their daemons, are required to drink a certain measure of the water. Some drink more than others, though. Those lacking wisdom tend to drink too much.
And what happens when they drink?
They forget everything. Their past life, their journey through the afterlife, the choice they just made, total wipe.
But not You said he only watched.
Crucially, yes. Was forbidden to drink. He needed to remember.
So he keeps all the memories.
He does. Then, after drinking, the souls rest for the night by the river, and at midnight, there's thunder, maybe an earthquake, and the souls are suddenly lifted up, swoosh,
Lifted up where?
towards their rebirth, sent off in different directions to be born into their new lives on Earth, completing the cycle.
And how does he get back?
He says he doesn't know how he got back to his body. He just woke up, lying there on the funeral pyre, just before dawn.
Wow. And he remembered it all.
Everything he'd seen and heard,
Hmm.
which was the whole point of his special exemption.
So that's the story. But Plato didn't just tell it for kicks, right? What's the philosophical payload here?
Oh, absolutely not just for kicks. Remember, this comes at the very end of the Republic, which is all about justice. Socrates tells this story to Glaucon primarily to argue for the immortality of the soul.
That the soul lives on after the body dies.
Right. He's basically saying, look, the soul isn't destroyed by death or even by its own wickedness. It persists. And this myth is the illustration of what happens after it persists.
Okay, so a soul is immortal. What else?
Well, consequences. Big time. The myth hammers home that how we live, the kind of character we build, it matters profoundly even after death. Your choices in life directly impact your fate in the afterlife and your options for the next life.
The tenfold rewards and punishments really make that clear.
They do. And it also reveals people's true character. Think about the guy who seemed just but grab the tyrant's life. The afterlife choice exposed his inner desires or flaws that maybe weren't obvious in his previous life.
It's like a test of character with ultimate stakes.
Exactly. And it also brings up this interesting idea about habit versus wisdom.
How so?
Well, noticed that people who lived sort of decent, unremarkable lives often just chose a similar life again. Not necessarily because it was the best choice or because they'd thought deeply, but just out of habit.
Like being on autopilot, even when choosing a whole new existence.
Kind of, yeah. Which leads to Plato's big point about the philosophical life.
Ah, the value of being a philosopher.
Right. He argues that the person who has practiced philosophy, meaning someone who's really examined life, understood different kinds of lives, virtue, vice, the role of chance, that person is best equipped to make a good choice.
Because they're not just reacting based on recent reward or punishment or filing into old habits. They have genuine understanding.
Precisely. They can weigh the options with wisdom. Plato suggests that philosophic virtue is the only thing that consistently works to your advantage. Unlike temporary things like fame or power, which can obviously lead you astray, it endures.
That makes sense. It's about cultivating inner wisdom, not just outer appearances or circumstances.
Exactly. Now, there's another layer here, too. That spindle of necessity wasn't just like a prop in the story.
Right, you mentioned it earlier. What is it, according to Plato?
It's actually his model of the cosmos, a cosmological model embedded right in the myth.
So, like, how the universe works.
Yeah. He describes it like a giant version of a Greek spindle, you know, the tool used for spinning wool, with a shaft and a whorl at the bottom. But this one is cosmic.
Okay.
And on the shaft are nested 8 whorls, like bowls fitting inside each other. Each whorl represents the orbit of a celestial body.
8 orbits. Which ones?
Okay, so number 1, the outermost, is the sphere of the fixed stars, then Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, then the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and finally the Moon, closest to Earth.
Wow. That's specific.
It is. And what's really amazing is that Plato's description of the relative widths of these whorls, their colors, and crucially, their speeds of revolution, it actually matches the observed astronomical data of his time quite well.
No way. Really?
Yeah, for the planets known then. Their relative order in speeds as seen from Earth. There's apparently one slight inaccuracy with the moon's speed relative to the sun, but otherwise, it's remarkably sophisticated for its time. He's presenting a geocentric model of the universe, powered by necessity and the fates.
So the myth isn't just moral philosophy, it's also astrophysics, Plato style.
Kind of, yeah. It's this grand synthesis of the moral and the cosmic order.
That's really cool. Now, you also mentioned something about a connection to another legend, an Armenian one.
Ah, yes. That's a really interesting bit of comparative mythology. Some scholars, like Armen Petrosian, have pointed out striking similarities between the myth of and an Armenian legend about Ura the Handsome.
Are they handsome? Okay, tell me about that one.
So Ura is this famously beautiful Armenian king, so beautiful, in fact, that the Assyrian queen Semiramis wants him romantically. She wages war to capture him.
Okay, maybe a bit extreme.
Well, yeah. She tells her soldiers to capture him alive, but he ends up getting killed in the battle.
Oops.
Right. Semiramis is devastated. Now, she's also known as a powerful sorceress. So she takes Ara's body and places it on a tower, praying to the gods or using her magic to resurrect him.
The work.
Well, in one version of the story, she fails, but disguises one of her lovers as Ara and spreads a rumor he's back to life just to stop the Armenians from continuing the war.
A political maneuver.
But significantly, in another tradition of the story, her prayers do work. Ara is actually resurrected. He comes back to life.
A genuine resurrection.
Yeah.
Just like in a way.
Exactly. So Petrosian's idea is that Plato's story of an Armenian son from Pamphylia near Armenia, who dies in battle and returns, might actually be drawing on or reflecting an earlier version of this era story, a version where the resurrection was real and central.
That's a fascinating potential link across cultures and time. It suggests these ideas of death and return were really powerful and maybe widespread.
It does seem that way. It adds another layer to understanding where Plato might have found some inspiration for the narrative framework of his myth.
Okay, so wrapping this all up then, the myth of it's way more than just a cool afterlife story.
Oh, definitely. It's Plato's grand finale to the Republic. It's his way of tackling huge questions. Is the soul immortal? Yes. Do our choices matter? Absolutely. Is there justice beyond this life? You bet.
And it shows how true character, especially the kind honed by philosophical reflection, is what truly prepares us, not just for death, but for whatever comes next. All set against this amazing backdrop of a spinning cosmos.
Precisely. It ties together the personal moral journey with the entire structure of the universe. It had a massive influence for centuries.
So the final thought maybe for you, the listener, this ancient story really pushes us to think about the ripples of our actions, right? What part of this whole idea, choosing your next life based on the character you've built right now, what part of that resonates most with you?
Yeah, and how might thinking about that perspective, that deep connection between your actions now and potential future consequences, maybe influence the choices you make, like today or tomorrow? Knowing that Plato believed true virtue, that inner philosophical understanding, is the stuff that really lasts, not just the temporary wins. Something to chew on. Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. We're about to explore the UEFA Champions League. You know, that competition that just feels massive, totally ingrained in global culture.
Absolutely.
You might think you know it all, but today we're digging a bit deeper. We want to uncover those surprising bits, the insights even proper fans might have missed.
Exactly. We're sifting through the key sources to really get the essence of it.
It's so much more than just, 90 minutes of football.
Oh, definitely. It's this compelling story, really. Ambition, innovation, that global reach. We'll trace how it went from a pretty straightforward European tournament to this huge sporting event it is now.
Yeah, looking at those key moments, maybe some hidden drivers behind its prestige.
Precisely.
So our mission for you today is to get beyond the obvious headlines. We want to give you those aha moments so you understand not just what the Champions League is, but why it's become such a powerhouse in sport.
And how it keeps shaping football's future, too.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Today, the UEFA Champions League, the UCL, everyone knows it for the league phase now, and those nail-biting knockout rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's consistently the most watched club competition globally. Only the World Cup and the Euros pull in more viewers overall.
Which is pretty staggering when you think about it, a club competition.
But it wasn't always like this, was it? The format, I mean. And it definitely wasn't always called the Champions League.
Absolutely not. Its story kicks off way back in 1955.
Yeah.
It started as the European Champion Clubs Cup.
Right, the European Cup. Simple name.
Yeah, often just called the European Cup. And back then, it was pure, straight knockout.
Yeah.
That was it. And only open to the champions of the domestic leagues.
Only the champions, okay.
Yeah, very exclusive in that sense.
So what's really interesting is how it changed. It got rebranded as the UEFA Champions League in 1992, we know that, but the changes started earlier.
That's right. The seeds were sown before 92. They actually brought in a group stage in 1991. And then by the 97-98 season, that was a huge shift. They started allowing multiple teams from the top countries, not just the champions anymore.
That must have really changed the dynamic.
Oh, completely. And this evolution, it wasn't just random. There was a real vision behind it. You can trace the idea back to even earlier things, like an 1895 World Championship between English and Scottish champs, or this thing called the Coupe van der Straeten Ponthos in 1900, sort of precursors.
Okay, interesting little footnotes in history there.
But the real spark, the catalyst, was an editor at the French newspaper L'Équipe, Gabriel Hanot.
Hana, right? I've heard the name.
Yeah, he was apparently inspired by the 1948 South American Championship of Champions. But the final push, the story goes, was when Wolverhampton Wanderers won some friendlies in the 50s and declared themselves champions of the world.
Bit premature, maybe.
Well, Hanno certainly thought so. He basically said, no, we need a proper pan-European competition to decide that. And that really got the ball rolling.
So, with that spark from Hannah, the first European Cup gets going in the 1955-56 season. How many teams was it?
16 invited teams for that first one.
Invited, okay.
And that very first match, September 4th, 1955, was actually a 3-3 draw.
Yeah.
Sporting CP against Partizan.
A high-scoring start, then.
Yeah. And a player called João Baptista Martins scored the first ever goal. A little piece of history there.
In the final of that season.
June 13th, 1956, Real Madrid came back from behind a bit of drama to beat Stade de Reims 4-3.
Already setting the tone for comebacks. And this win for Real Madrid, it wasn't just a one-off, was it?
Oh, far from it. This kicked off an era of just complete dominance. Real Madrid won the first 5 editions. Consecutive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a record that still stands today.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And Alfredo Di Stefano was the main man, really.
The maestro.
Definitely. He even scored a hat-trick in the 1960 final. They hammered Eintracht Frankfurt 7-3 in that one. Another record scoreline, I think.
Just unbelievable dominance. So who finally broke their streak?
It was Benfica, the Portuguese side, in the 1960-61 season.
Okay. And here's a little nugget for you. The trophy actually left Spain or Portugal for the first time in 1962-63. AC Milan won it then.
Italy gets on the board. And then, the focus kind of shifted towards Britain.
Right, the British team started coming through.
Yeah. Celtic were the first British winners in 67, the famous Lisbon Lions.
All local lads, weren't they? Born near Glasgow.
That's the story, yeah. All born within 30 miles of Glasgow. Incredible achievement. Then Manchester United won it the year after, in 68.
And then came that big English wave later on.
Exactly. Late 70s, early 80s. Liverpool were immense. Nottingham Forest had that incredible back-to-back run under Clough.
Yeah, Forest's story is amazing.
Isn't it? Between 1977 and 1984, English clubs won it 7 times. Just total dominance for a period.
But that era came to a really sudden and tragic end.
Yeah. The Heysel Stadium disaster in 1985. Just awful.
And the consequence was that English clubs got banned from Europe.
That's right. A 5-year ban from all European competitions. Devastating for English football at the time.
So that 5-year ban, what did that actually do to the competition itself? Obviously, English teams weren't winning it.
Well, it fundamentally reshaped the landscape, didn't it? It created this vacuum, essentially. And teams from other nations stepped up. You had Steaua Bucuresti from Romania winning it.
Right, I remember that.
Porto from Portugal, PSV Eindhoven from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
These teams got their chance on the biggest stage.
So it kind of opened the door.
It really did. And crucially, it sort of paved the way for the 1990s, which became this era heavily dominated by Italian clubs. Serie A was arguably the best league then.
Yeah, Italian teams were everywhere in finals back then.
Weren't they just? They reached 9 finals in a 9-year period in the 90s. Astonishing consistency. It really broadened the competitive field for a while after that English ban.
Okay, so fast forwarding a bit then, into the more modern era, say from 98 onwards.
Well, Spanish clubs came back strong, particularly Real Madrid again. They had that incredible run, didn't they? 3 titles back-to-back, 2016 to 2018. Just phenomenal in the modern game.
Unheard of, really, in this era.
Pretty much. Though English clubs have had resurgences too. There was a strong period from about 2005 to 2012, and then again more recently from maybe 2018 to 2023. Lots of English teams in the latter stages.
And we can't forget the COVID disruption, can we? 2020.
No, that was bizarre. Tournament suspended, then finished off in that mini tournament in Lisbon. Single-leg knockouts.
Felt very strange. A real test of adaptability for everyone involved.
Definitely was.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. The competition isn't just the games, is it? It's the whole experience. And a huge part of that is the anthem. When you hear that music...
Hairs on the back of the neck time, isn't
yeah,
it?
Totally. Zidane doesn't get much bigger than him. He said, magic. It's magic above all else. When you hear the anthem, it captivates you straight away.
He's spot on. And what makes it so iconic, I think, beyond just being a great piece of music, which it is, based on Handel.
Right. Handel's Zadok the Priest.
Exactly. Adapted by Tony Britton in '92. performed by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, sung by the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. Proper classical pedigree.
Yeah.
But it's how it encapsulates the stakes, the grandeur. It's less a song, more like a rallying cry that works everywhere in any language. It just signals this is the pinnacle.
That sound means top-level football is about to happen.
It's almost like psychological priming, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's associating that sound with elite competition. It's genius, really.
And the words in the chorus, bits of English, German, French?
The three official UEFA languages, yeah.
Okay.
Die Meister, die Besten, les grandes équipes, the champions.
You just know it instantly. It's unmistakable.
And that same level of care, that meticulous attention to detail, you see it in the branding too. The Starball logo.
Oh yeah, the Starball. Iconic.
Designed by a London firm, Design Bridge. Black and white or silver, those core colors. And get this, by 1999, just a few years after the rebrand, it apparently had a 94% recognition rate among fans.
94%. That's incredible branding.
It really is branding brilliance.
And this branding success, it's all tied into the huge media coverage and the whole financial side that makes the Champions League this global beast, right?
Absolutely intertwined. The final is consistently the most watched annual sporting event on the planet.
Annual, yeah. That's key. More than the Super Bowl globally.
Generally, yes, in terms of global audience figures.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you a scale, the 2012-13 final, they reckon around 360 million TV viewers worldwide.
360 million for one club game.
Yep. That's almost 5% of the entire world population tuning in. It's just massive.
Mind-boggling numbers. Okay, let's look at the present day then. The 2024-25 season brought in this brand new format, the Swiss system. How does that actually work? What's changed?
Right, the Swiss model. Big change.
Yeah.
Basically, you've got an expanded league phase, now 36 teams instead of the old 32 in groups.
Okay, more teams involved from the start.
Exactly. And here's the main difference. They're all ranked in one single league table, not split into groups of 4 anymore.
One giant league table of 36 teams.
Yep. And each team plays 8 matches in this phase. Crucially, against 8 different opponents.
Not home and away against the same 3 teams like before.
Correct. 4 games at home, 4 away, drawn from 4 different seeding pots. The idea is more varied matchups, more meaningful games right through the league phase, and constant movement in that big table.
Sounds complicated, but potentially more exciting throughout.
That's the hope. More jeopardy, fewer dead rubbers, maybe.
So with this big league phase, how does that then lead into the knockouts? That's the bit everyone loves.
It creates a sort of tiered entry into the knockouts. The top 8 teams in that final 36-team table, they get a reward.
Yeah.
They qualify directly for the round of 16, skip around.
Okay, big incentive to finish top 8.
Definitely. Then the teams finishing from 9th place down to 24th place. They go into a knockout playoff round.
Ah, so they have to play an extra round.
Exactly. 2-legged ties, 9th place 24th, 10th place 23rd, and so on. The winners of those 8 ties go through to the round of 16 to join the top 8.
And what about the teams below 24th? In the old system, 3rd place dropped into the Europa League.
Ah, that's another key change. Teams finishing 25th down to 36th in the league phase. They're just out. Eliminated from Europe entirely. Same for the losers of those knockout playoff ties.
Wow, so no safety net of the Europa League anymore.
Nope. It raises the stakes in that league phase significantly. Finish in the top 24, or you're done for the season in Europe.
That does sound like it adds more pressure. So with this new structure, what does it mean for actually getting into the Champions League in the first place? Qualification must be complex.
Oh, it is. It's all based on these UEFA coefficients.
Right, the rankings for leagues and clubs.
Exactly. Calculated based on performance in European competitions over the previous 5 seasons. These coefficients basically dictate how many automatic spots each country's league gets.
So the stronger leagues, based on recent results, get more places.
Precisely. It reinforces the success of the top leagues. For example, the top 5 leagues in the coefficient rankings, they typically get 4 spots each automatically, though there can be extra spots now too.
And there are still qualifying rounds for teams that don't get automatic spots.
Yes, there's still a champions path for league winners from lower-ranked countries and a league path for non-champions from slightly higher-ranked leagues. Plus, all clubs need to meet licensing criteria, stadium standards, infrastructure, finances.
It's a whole process. We've seen some weird qualification situations over the years, haven't we? Like Liverpool in 2005?
Oh yeah, the Liverpool one was famous. They won the Champions League but finished 5th in the Premier League, outside the automatic spots.
So technically they shouldn't have been in it the next year to defend the trophy.
Technically, no, but UEFA granted them special dispensation. England ended up with 5 teams that year. Caused a bit of debate.
And then the opposite happened to Spurs a few years later.
Right, Tottenham in 2012. They finished 4th, which should have been enough, but Chelsea, who finished 6th, went and won the Champions League that year.
And the winners get an automatic spot.
Exactly. So Chelsea took the spot that would have gone to 4th place, bumping Spurs down into the Europa League. Tough luck for them.
Brutal. So what about the Europa League winners now? Does winning that get you in?
Yes, that's a big one. Since the 2018-19 season, the team that wins the Europa League automatically qualifies for the next season's Champions League phase. Huge incentive to win the Europa League now.
Definitely raises its profile.
And there's another new thing from 2024-25, these European performance spots.
Okay, what are they?
Basically, the two national associations, the two countries' leagues, whose clubs collectively performed best in Europe the previous season, they get an extra Champions League spot each for the following season.
So it rewards the leagues that do well overall in Europe.
Exactly. A direct reward for collective success across all UEFA competitions.
It really is all about getting into this competition, isn't it? Arsene Wenger famously called finishing 4th the 4th place trophy.
He did. He said the first trophy is to finish in the top 4. He even argued there were 5 trophies a season: Premier League title, Champions League title, FA Cup, and qualifying for the Champions League was one of them in his eyes.
It just shows how vital participation is perceived to be, even before you kick a ball in the competition itself.
And a massive part of that is the money. The financial rewards are just huge.
Give us an idea for this new 2024-25 format.
Okay, just reaching the league phase, getting through qualification or qualifying automatically guarantees a club $18.62 million. Just for being there.
Wow, okay. Base payment.
Yep. Then in the league phase, every single point matters financially. A win gets you $2.1 million. A draw is worth $700,000.
So those 8 league games have direct cash implications beyond just league position.
Big time. And then the prizes ramp up in the knockouts. Winning the whole thing, that gets the club an extra $25 million.
On top of everything else they've earned along the way.
Exactly. Plus, the runner-up in the final still gets $18.5 million for that match. So even losing the final is incredibly lucrative.
So winning is clearly worth a fortune, but you mentioned earlier that sometimes the runner-up earns more overall. How does that work?
Yeah, that's down to the market pool distribution. It's a bit complex, but basically, a chunk of the total revenue is divided up based on the value of each country's television market.
So teams from countries with bigger, more expensive TV deals get a bigger slice of that particular pot.
Essentially, yes. It means a team from a large TV market can earn more from the market pool than a team from a smaller market, even if the team from the smaller market goes further in the competition or even wins it.
So that 2019-20 example, PSG earned more than winners Bayern.
That's the one. Paris Saint-Germain, the runners-up, earned nearly $127 million total, while Bayern Munich, who won, earned about $125.5 million.
Just because of the French TV market value versus the German one?
Largely, yeah. It shows how significant that market pool is. And you could argue it maybe reinforces the financial power of clubs in the biggest media markets. It definitely fuels the financial competition.
Yeah, fascinating layer to it. Okay, beyond the prize money, the Champions League is just this incredible marketing platform. You mentioned the branding. What about sponsors? It's not like a domestic league with one title sponsor, is it?
No, they have a different model. A group of multinational corporations act as the main sponsors. When they set it up in '92, they deliberately limited it to a maximum of 8 main partners.
Why limit it?
Exclusivity. It gives each sponsor much more visibility. They get prominent advertising boards around the pitch. Their logos are everywhere. They get priority for TV ad slots during the broadcasts. Maximizes their exposure, makes the partnership more valuable.
Smart. And the advertising tech has evolved too, hasn't it? Not just static boards anymore.
Oh, yeah. Since around 2012-13, they started using those LED advertising hoardings that change dynamically during the game.
Right. You see those all the time now.
And now they even use virtual board replacement VBR technology.
What's that?
It means they can digitally overlay different adverts onto the pitch side boards for different TV broadcasts around the world.
So someone watching in, say, Asia might see a different advert on the board behind the goal than someone watching in Europe, even though they're watching the same live game.
Exactly that. Tailored advertising for different regions, all happening simultaneously. It's pretty clever tech.
Wow. And this control extends to the kits the teams wear, too. Sponsor rules.
Yep. Generally, UEFA only allows 2 sponsors on a jersey, plus the kit manufacturer's logo, though they sometimes make exceptions for nonprofit organizations.
And teams occasionally have to change sponsors for certain away games.
Yeah, if they play in a country with specific advertising laws, the classic example people mention is Rangers playing in France back in 96, 97.
What happened?
Their main sponsor was a lager brand, but France had strict laws against alcohol advertising. So for their games in France, they had to wear jerseys with Center Parcs on them instead.
Had to have a backup sponsor ready. Shows the global reach, but also the complications.
Definitely. And the current main sponsors for the 2024-27 cycle, it's a list of huge global names. FedEx, Qatar Airways, Heineken, Just Eat Takeaway, MasterCard, PepsiCo, Sony with the PlayStation 5, Bet365, Crypto.com.
Big players.
Absolutely.
Plus-
Adidas supply the match ball that's been a long partnership, and Macron do the referee kits now.
Okay, let's talk about the real giants of the game then. The teams, the players who've dominated this competition. Real Madrid, we mentioned them. 15 titles.
15. It's just staggering.
Yeah.
They are by far the most successful club in the competition's history, miles ahead of AC Milan in second place with 7.
But England has the most different winners.
That's right. 6 different English clubs have lifted the trophy. Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, and Manchester City.
Shows a different kind of success, perhaps. More variety.
You could say that. Overall, 24 clubs in total have won it, and 13 of those have won it more than once, so you do see dynasties and repeat winners.
And by country, Spain leads because of Real Madrid, mostly.
And Barcelona's wins too, yeah.
Huh?
Spain has 20 titles overall. England is next with 15, then Italy with 12, Germany with 8. Those are the big 4 nations historically.
What about the players? Who holds the record for most wins?
That would be Paco Gento, the legendary Real Madrid winger from the 50s and 60s. He won 6 European Cups.
6. Incredible.
And remarkably, 4 players from the recent Real Madrid era have now matched that. Toni Kroos, Johnny Carvajal, Luka Modric, and Nacho all got their 6th winners' medal.
And Kroos and Carvajal started every final they won.
Apparently so. Started and won 6 Champions League finals. Just unbelievable consistency and longevity at the very top level.
And the big 2 of the modern era, Ronaldo and Messi. Their records must be insane.
Oh, completely dominant stats. Cristiano Ronaldo holds the record for the most appearances, 183 matches played in the competition proper.
183 games.
And he's also the all-time top goal scorer with 140 goals.
Just mind-blowing numbers. And Messi.
Messi is second in both appearances and goals. Those two just push each other to ridiculous heights in this competition for over a decade.
Truly defined an era. You mentioned UEFA introduced some individual awards recently, too.
Yeah, since the 2021-22 season, Official Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season awards.
How are they decided?
By a jury. It includes the coaches of the teams that participated in the league phase, plus 55 journalists, 1 from each UEFA member association. So, quite a respected panel.
Because it's some weight. And who won them for the most recent season we have on record, 2024-25?
For the 2024-25 season, the player of the season was Ousmane Dembélé of Paris Saint-Germain.
Ah, PSG finally won it that year.
They did, their first title. And the young player of the season was also from PSG, Désiré Doué.
Interesting. A sign of emerging talent being recognized alongside the established stars.
Exactly. Adds another layer of recognition to the season.
Right. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from those slightly contentious origins with Gabriel Hannon and Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, the champions of the world claim.
Through the Real Madrid dynasty, the English dominance and ban, the Italian era, the Spanish resurgence, right up to this brand new Swiss format.
And the anthem, the branding, the sheer scale of the money and media involved.
Plus the records, the legends like Gento, Ronaldo, Messi, and these new awards recognizing current stars.
Hopefully you listening now feel you can watch the next Champions League game with a bit more context, a deeper appreciation for all the layers, the history, the strategy, the finances, the global ambition. It all feeds into what happens on the pitch.
Absolutely. It really is more than just a game. Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. We've seen how the Champions League constantly evolves. Format changes, commercial growth, global expansion.
Relentless change, almost.
So as it continues to blend this deep-rooted tradition with this constant drive for innovation, how do you think that will shape the future of club football? Will this new era, for instance, just further cement the power of a few super clubs?
Or could the complexity of the new format, maybe the increased revenue distribution, actually create more opportunities for upsets, for underdog stories? Will it widen the gap or potentially narrow it in unexpected ways?
Something to definitely mull over. How will this blend of tradition and relentless change play out? We'll leave you with that thought until our next deep dive.